Hello, everybody. This is Susanna from the Event Rental Professional channel, and this is Matt Fullmer. He is from the Pennsylvania state, and he is here today to connect with all of you and share about the Rent Anything Store platform, which he's a territory owner of, and also has his own personal store on it to be able to service and help out people in his own backyard. So let's get to know Matt, right? So he's gonna,
Absolutely.
yes. So
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
I am super. I'm super great. I'm so happy you were able to make time to meet with all of us today. And I hear today you're going to share a little bit about ideas onto why so many people are promoting and creating their side hustles on the Rent Anything Store platform.
I love it. It's really beyond anything I could have possibly imagined, right? 3 years ago, just to kind of give a little bit of a brief background, 3 years ago, I either thought I was the smartest or the dumbest person in the room when I came up with an idea whereby we had a dual-sided marketplace, and at the time it was called something different. It was called Broomallin, and in fact, you can still go online. I'm from Broomall, Pennsylvania, which is in Delaware County, aka Delco. What's up, Delco? We've got a very strong following here in southeastern Pennsylvania. But we've expanded to, the surrounding counties and beyond New Jersey and so on and so forth. But yeah, I came up with this idea. I was accepted into an accelerator program. Um, and it was the first of its kind, this particular accelerator. So I didn't know what to expect. I had 6 weeks to really put the pedal to the metal. And I had really I don't make New Year's resolutions, but in 23, I thought, you know what? I really need to kind of put my money where my mouth is. I had just a few years prior received my MBA from St. Joe's University, and those things kind of have shelf lives, and I didn't really consider myself perhaps a business-minded individual, but I always felt as though I had this sort of entrepreneurial bug, I had to scratch that itch, and it just wasn't going away in a good way. So went online. I built this thing. I built my MVP, my minimum viable product, essentially in 6 weeks, and launched it. And threw caution to the wind, and it was the most liberating feeling I think I've ever experienced, probably at least in a professional format, where it's like people don't know me, Matt Fulmer, Matty Fulms, whatever, as I don't know, as this person, someone creating a business from scratch. They knew me as, different iterations, be it father, coach, husband, what I've done a lot in my professional life, which was working in higher education. And so this was a moment in time where I can point to and say I just kind of went for it, and people were either going to scrutinize or laugh or embrace or whatever, and it was awesome. We were off to the races, and I met a lot of wonderful people, including yourself, of course, Susanna, and the Codys, who are sort of like the grand poobahs of this Rent Anything store, which is kind of where we pivoted 6 months into my own thing, realizing, oh my gosh, there are people who are smarter than me and probably better looking and all those things that I say, who not only had this idea but have a wealth of resources and knowledge, and had the idea of really creating it and taking it to a level that, again, perhaps my, jokingly, but my feeble brain never even would have conceived. And here we are 3 years later with not just a functioning and wonderful website, but an app. I always thought, oh my gosh, how cool would it be to have an app, right? We have an app. We have the Rent Anything Store app, and just amazing partners like yourself and people who have taken root in their areas, right? So again, living in Broomall, living in Delco, boots are on the ground here. We're not, in some foreign land and trying to connect people in a place that we've never been. Like I remember knocking on doors and handing out pamphlets and you know getting my t-shirt first t-shirt made and the hats and just kind of walking the walk and talking the talk and convincing people basically that I kind of knew what I was doing, whereby honestly, like most entrepreneurs that I've ever met, really were just I was just faking it until I made it, right? And I'm still doing that, but again, it's been a dream come true.
Oh, that is amazing. That's amazing. So share with our listeners here. We've already established that we can create our own stores. So what is your thought on creating theme stores per se, whether it's related to our hobby or a sport or something along those lines?
It's a great question. In When I first went online, when we first had the website live, I remember just sort of throwing, I guess, spaghetti or anything against the wall and seeing what would stick, right? So, and I think the first, um, I don't want to say test, but the first thing that Steve and I discussed was just go through your house, right, and walk through your home and list pretty much everything within reason, right? So, I'm looking at a a baby bed or whatever, maybe that was used several times. And I had a lot of, I have four young boys, and they kind of outgrow certain things. Some of that stuff you're going to throw away. Some of that stuff you're going to keep. Some of it you might sell on other platforms and things like that. But then there was sort of this, like, as I saw, a fourth category that you could just make money on things that are li lying idle in your own house, in your garage, in your backyard, so on and so forth. So again, a lot of sports equipment, a lot of baby stuff, um, tables and chairs and linens, oh my, like you name it. And I kind of went through that process, and it was really helpful for me to realize that, because I think when I started, again, I made my own website on GoDaddy for Broomall, and I I kind of came up with a list, and then I just went through my house during this whole process, this exercise, if you will, that Steve and I kind of designed. And I thought, oh my gosh, the world is so much bigger than I had ever conceived and imagined. And again, we're not talking about cars, we're not talking about apartments for rent. We're talking about things that you actually own. And then we kind of opened up, I guess, another layer of awesomeness, which was essentially like you can go out and buy things and then rent that out, and then within, 4 to 5 times, or sometimes 3 or 10, whatever, you can make that money back and then some, and be in the black, and not, owe anything on that anymore, and still own it, right? Or kind of, we've talked about, renting to buy. Somebody rents something a few times and they're like, I really like those cornhole boards. All right, well, name your price after I've made my money back. Essentially, you can wind up selling that. But I would say, when I really started becoming more focused on a particular category, it was probably party rentals, and that was something that, again, the Codys and I talked about. I don't have the physical space. We don't have a brick and mortar shop, so everyone asks where the store is, right? Anything store, right? Where is the store? The store is essentially, your house, your garage, your backyard, whatever. So there's little to no overhead, which is fantastic. But I also started partnering with local folks who could essentially use the platform, as their marketing tool, right? And a couple people listed their own things. Others said, "Oh, I'm too busy," which is a great sign, right? That these party rental um, store, or LLCs or whatever, they were doing so well that these owners, these entrepreneurs, didn't have the time to actually list. And I thought, well, I'll do it for you, and over the past, what, 2 years, you can certainly attest to this as well. That process has become a lot more seamless. Is that what I want to say? But a lot easier, with the advent of, Chat GPT, right? And all these things. Whereas we were just kind of typing in our own description of these items, or taking it from, let's say, another site. I won't name any sites that we kind of hacked or whatever, but it's like, why reinvent the wheel? And I think that's sort of what, the beauty of ChatGPT. Yes, we still want to use our brains and think about, how much would this go for? How much did I pay? What's the how many years have I had it? How often has it been used? And then kind of figure that out. But also, what is this? What is this particular item? What is this canoe? Have I used it twice? Okay, it's in excellent shape, and I bought it for $800. So I figured, a weekend you can rent it out for $100 or $1, whatever. I mean, I think really the beauty of this, and I know I'm kind of all over the place. I haven't had my cup of coffee this morning yet, but the beauty of what I was conceiving before I had met you and the Codys and all these other brilliant minds who were already in this space, the party rental space, the Bobcat rental space, and had, access to creating marketplaces that I certainly did not, was that it was going to be community driven and a way to really stress and focus on sustainability. Those were my only two tenets, really, was, having worked in an arena where I was bringing people together. We kind of saw this almost like as a like a dating website. I've never been on one, but I've heard, bringing people together to meet, right? And to find out your commonalities and differences, and kind of vetting that. And then also, someone called it like Uber for shovels, or Uber for canoes, or Uber for baby gear. You insert that thing, and it was just like, oh yeah, someone has something and someone needs something. Just like the old days when, people would knock on your door and say, "Hey, do you have any flour? I'm making a cake." I don't know how to bake, but I've heard this happen back in the day. Um, and and it really was kind of like a beautiful way to kind of bring neighbors together, and bring people together that may have never met, because someone had something, a sander, or we've talked a little bit about bounce house. Try to keep our, our the products that we have online, without too much liability, right? We don't want chainsaws, running amok on the site. But yeah, that's, I would say the party rental, sphere or arena is awesome. It's never going away. People are always going to be having parties. People are always going to need tables and chairs, but maybe they don't have the space to store that, or they do have the tables and chairs, and they're sitting around, for a year until their next party. Well, why not, help your neighbor out? How about help and make a few bucks in the process?
Yeah, it really sounds like that you're really promoting and teaching and educating your area of the benefits of being able to help out their own community,
Absolutely.
you
I
know?
mean, I think we're just trying to, and again, it is sort of a newer,
Hmm.
I don't want to say concept, but there are other marketplaces out there, so people kind of understand the value of, not owning a car and using, or, typing in the Uber or Lyft app, that you need a ride, and you're saving money on gas, and yeah, you're paying someone whose livelihood may or may not be dependent upon that. Well, it's kind of the same concept for Rent Anything Store, where you have these things and you can have a side hustle without breaking the bank. I think the beauty of what we've created as well, and initially I didn't know when it was Brew Mall, and it was just sort of like the Matt Fullmer show essentially, and I didn't have my resources, my team, my community of fine folks like yourselves. Um, we were going to do, a monthly payment or subscription model, and kind of like just going back and forth with like, how do we make money on this? And it's, something that I know has been brought up in the past as well. But um, the beauty is that you could list an item today, as long as you get, verified through our system, which is there for the safety and protection of people, so that you're not, just throwing something out there and then you don't know who is going to rent. Like, we have all those safety nets in place, and we've been very meticulous with that, for the safety of our users, so that you're not just throwing it out there to any Joe Schmo. There are websites that do that, and there is no verification process. You just have to roll the dice and hope that someone shows up when they say they're going to show up, or pay you, or whatever. Like, that's not the case with Rent Anything Store, which is great. Um, but yeah, it's been a fun process to kind of piece it all together and to say, you know what, no, you can list your items for free. And if you have sort of like renter's remorse, you can take it down the next day, or you could ghost it, or, you could, um, yeah, the sky is really the limit. There's no, you put this up there and then you pay us money. No, it just lives on our site, which is awesome.
Exactly. No, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. You live in a four season space or area. So what are great seasonal items that you see, over the last 2 years since you've been working in this area?
Great question. So yeah, right now we're obviously in the midst of winter. It's a little different. Our winter's a little bit different than, say, Ottawa and the Canadian region, where if we get, a couple of inches of snow, oh my gosh, we go into panic mode. So I've thought, well, shovels, yeah, everybody probably has, you'd think everyone has a shovel, but maybe a snow blower. We're not really in the area of like snowmobiles, but like I'm sure that is a thing, right? Or if you go skiing, ski rental businesses are just, out of control these days. And certainly, in the mountainous regions in Pennsylvania and certainly New York and closer to you guys where skiing is a way of life almost. And then as we get into spring, I've mentioned a little bit about the canoes. Like I start thinking about I love to be outdoors, right? And so we had a family, I guess it was in the springtime, who were going to go camping, but tents cost in upwards of two, three, four, 500. I mean, an extraordinary amount in terms of like how big you want the tent and how many amenities. Why you might not like camping, right? Let's just put it that way. And why, buy something. And I was listening to the radio today. Believe it or not, they still have radio stations, right? Not just Sirius, whatever. But and the announcer asked the question like, what was one thing that you bought that immediately you pretty much had buyer's remorse, because you realized, wow, that was so overpriced and I didn't even use it or it wasn't what I had anticipated. Maybe it was a Peloton or something. You can't really rent Pelotons out. Maybe you could, but just trying to get it shipped and someone picking it up, like you got to think of, what kind of car you have and what you can put in there. But everybody has bought that one thing where they're like, man, I really thought maybe it was a New Year's resolution. I was going to get in better shape, and so I bought this overpriced whatever that is. Well, someone else can probably benefit from that, whether you're selling it or you're renting that out and making even more money than you could conceivably get just by selling it once. So yeah, springtime is kind of around the corner in a month and a half. Um, and you start thinking about people getting, outdoors again, um, and wanting to like get on the water or what if you have people who want to list their boats, who are down the shore, as we call it, down the shore, the Jersey Shore, or I mean, gosh, the sky's the limit. I've done a few videos in my time down in Sea Isle and Cape May and beyond where I literally just walk around and think, oh my gosh, look at all the beach umbrellas, look at all the beach toys, look at all the, as we call them, like the schleppers, the beach cruisers or whatever. People are buying these things and then other people need them. And it's just such as I sit here and reflect and contemplate on maybe even not having the vision that I do now because of you all, it's the possibilities are limitless.
They are. They're pretty much limitless. Yeah. If you own it and it's legal, it's pretty much postable and rentable, right?
Absolutely. And,
Right.
and to your point too, I mean, I think Steve, for some reason, he used to use the example of the chicken plucker. I don't know if that's big in Ottawa or not, but I thought that's awesome. Like again, my feeble brain. I've traveled quite a bit. I used to be cool before my kids came along. They would say I'm not cool, but but the chicken plucker. Wait, what is that? So I looked online. I'm like, oh, I guess there's a market for chicken pluckers. Who knew that? But there's always somebody out there who can benefit from something that maybe you just have lying around, and sometimes the more niche, the better. I know this isn't necessarily niche, but Steve has been saying that, lately wheelchairs have been like the need, the demand for renting wheelchairs. Actually, yeah, I might be needing some soon, but it's pretty awesome when you think of like what is something that someone needs now, again, seasonally, and what is something that, someone could use, again, tables and chairs, throughout the year, no matter where you live. Sports equipment is another big one. My kids all play baseball and soccer, and we have portable nets. I just had a gentleman reach out to me. I guess he's running a camp, right? And he doesn't have the storage facility, but he said, I need, I had listed a portable net. Now it's a pretty big net, so he's going to need a truck, right? But he needs six of them for, X amount of time. If I don't have them, then as an owner and regional partner, it's kind of my job. It's my passion to then connect someone else who has those and to get them paid essentially. List that item, it's sitting in your backyard. Maybe your kids aren't playing with it, whatever. Well, this person is running this camp for youth and needs, six of these types of soccer goals. And again, you're going to make money, whereas it would have just sat in your yard. Maybe your kids play with it a couple times, and maybe they don't. But
Very true, right? And very true. And make a good point. I mean, there's a lot of items that we inherit from elderly parents, like wheelchairs. Like, unfortunately, I have a wheelchair. I have two now, but I have it because I needed it and I couldn't rent it because it was the pandemic. There was nothing available. So there are these items that I've picked up from my surgeries that I'm renting out and it's going really well. So that's a great point, right? And there's a lot of people that are in maybe our age category with aging parents that equipment is no longer needed because they have, stepped over and moved on and passed away, right?
yeah,
So those
absolutely.
are great items to list because there are people that need these things and they need them for a short period of time. And I'm sure you're seeing also an influx over the holidays where you have family coming and they need a little extra help, but it's impossible to bring everything on an airplane.
Great
So
point. Great point.
much
Yeah,
easier to rent it locally.
absolutely. And whether you're when I was doing my research and creating my business plan 3 years ago, I remember going online and finding out that baby gear in particular, there are these niche startups. Let's say you're going to Los Angeles from wherever, and again, can't babies need everything. I'm actually listening to an episode of How I Built This as we speak, and what's the name of baby? Baby List. Baby List is this company that this the founder created in 2011, I think, and it's just this comprehensive place where all things babies need that parents don't know that they need, can be listed. We really should be partnering with places like that where you're going to a place and your babies or your young kids, need all these things and you don't want to go out and buy them. So why not rent them from a reputable source, whether it be online at Rent Anything Store or sort of these more niche startups. I also was thinking about going down to the Outer Banks. So it's about an 8-hour drive from where we live. And they have the market cornered. I think it's called Kitty Hawk Kites. And I remember going down there and literally renting a not the best quality chair. And imagine renting like 10 of those chairs. And the price was ridiculous. It was like, I don't know, $30 to $50 per chair for the week or something. These people are just printing money with items that are just sitting around. Yeah, you clean them off after the week, that the renters come down and use them. Um, and then you re-rent them. Yeah, it's seasonal and that, the shore community kind of shuts down in early to mid-September-ish. But for those 3 to 4 months, they're keeping the lights on and then some. So
Exactly.
really just kind of think outside of the box, whether it's, you have a place or you jet skis is another thing that we've been talking about. Maybe having a facility down the shore and renting out, a fleet of jet skis. Like everybody, or fishing equipment. I have a lot of requests for that as well. But yeah.
Oh, that's also a good point, right? I mean, that stuff not everybody can use every single day of the week. Most of us, have to go to work at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If only all of
exactly.
us could live like Jimmy Buffett. That's right.
No, no, exactly. No, no. Why don't you share with us, because we're winding down here, share with us, how easy it is to create your account, to create your store, and to, great ways to share it inside your community.
Great ways to share it within our community. So I think just word of mouth, really, honestly, I've utilized social media and learned a lot about, the benefits of social media because there are negative things that kind of connotations, but there are also really positive ways to kind of use that to your advantage and to get the word out. A couple years ago, I was using some AI generated marketing for like when ChatGPT kind of first came out, and someone just said, "Hey, why don't you just use your ugly mug and put yourself out there?" I thought, "Yeah, why not?" So I've become sort of like, for better or worse, the face of my area. In fact, I've been to places, libraries, bars, whatever, and some it was literally a week and a half ago. I'm in a restaurant with my kids, and I guess I don't know, somehow there was a connection online, but someone's like, are you rent anything, Matt, or whatever? I'm like, dude, yeah. And my kids are like, oh no. I don't know if it was a good thing or not. But the fact of the matter is that somehow down the line, like that person stumbled upon one of my videos. I think I'm in the 70s now in terms of like how many I've made, and it's been great. Recently, I'll share this story because it was one of my favorites of late. But during the Christmas and holiday season, this lovely couple reached out from Westchester, so they're probably about a half hour away from where I live, and I always want to know, like, how did you find out about this? Are Google AdWords, are they working? Are my videos working? Or like, did a friend of a friend tell you? And they've been retired for some time. Every weekend, at least one day, if not multiple days, they'll go down into the city. Excuse me. And they will throughout the week they'll collect. People will like literally drop off clothing and supplies, shoes, jackets, depending on the season, food even, and water. And they'll take that down to Philadelphia, and they're amazing. I mean, and they're not doing this for publicity. They're not doing it for, a YouTube channel or whatever. Not that that would be a bad thing either, because I think, we're so over inundated with sort of negative news that like it's good to hear that there's still a lot of really good, real good in this world of really good people. And anyway, so they thought, hey, you know what? We've been doing this for years. Wouldn't it be cool to have like a Santa, have the gentleman dress up as Santa? And they saw my Santa costume online. I've been known to play Santa over the years, be it for my former students or my kids and my nieces and nephews, whatever. And I had this sort of lying around, and they saw it, and we connected, and created a video because they were like, yeah, absolutely, we want to get the word out about you. And I thought, no, 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 I want to share your story. Like your story is awesome and unique in some ways. And they were just so humble that they're like, we're just regular people. I said, yeah, but you're doing extraordinary things. You're really sharing yourselves with the world. And how cool is it that we found each other? Like if Rent Anything Store shut down tomorrow, I knew that at least, that one interaction happened. And that was, again, beyond anything I had conceived 3 years ago, where I just wanted to connect people. And what better connection is there than a couple of folks bringing items down to give to the homeless and folks who are maybe down and out and have been shunned by society, and yet can receive something like every human being should: clothing, supplies, food, water. I get emotional thinking about my new friends who have been doing this now, and will continue to do that. And all they wanted to do was just kind of spice it up a little bit around the holidays and bring the Santa costume. So anybody can do that, though. Anybody can kind of be that superhero, that Santa Claus figure, whatever, in their everyday life. If they have an item or multiple, just list it. I mean, it really is. We've made the process very, very easy, very simple. Again, when we started, maybe not as much, but you tweak as you go, as you develop, as you expand. And Rent Anything Store is like, it's just unbelievable where we are today, a couple years in. Um, anybody can do it. Anybody. And people saying, well, I'm older and I don't, use the internet. That's fine. Well, I can walk you through that. That's what my job is, to kind of sit here and walk you through and list a couple of items so that you now, you lead a person to 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 fish, or teach them how to fish, then they have that skill for life. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's the beauty about it, right? It's fairly intuitive. I mean, it's step by step. So, but again, we are here to help. You're there to help, and the platform has support as well. So that's not an issue, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, as a last quick answer will be is, since you know how it works, share with our listeners and viewers, how easy is it to get paid?
oh, it's very easy. So you list the item, you confirm immediately. It asks you to confirm within X amount of time. I forget what that time frame is, but um, and then after the item has been rented out, essentially, you get paid. Like it just works like that. Because you have to kind of, when you sign up. And again, that's changed even in the past. It used to be, give us all your information first, and now let's, list some items, and then you have to, supply your credit card essentially, or your debit card, or a way, like just like you were filling out the Uber application. Where's the money coming from, or where's the money going to? Um, that's how we validate that it is a real person, who's listing these items, and that there's going to be a good transaction taking place. But yeah, it's very simple. There's never been any holdup that I've ever heard of from my end, me personally, or anyone who has listed their items and gotten paid. Yeah, that's kind of the easiest part of the whole process, which is nice.
Exactly. And I just wanted you to share that because it's
Sure.
important, right? People are always concerned about, oh, well, how am I going to get my money? Well, it's basically automatic.
It is. It
So
is.
the rental is finished and the money gets deposited. So it's pretty basic and pretty simple. So there's no fear there that you're not going to get paid.
Nope, definitely not.
No, exactly. Well, that was all the questions I had
Oh,
today
great.
for you, Matt. I'm so happy that you're able to
Whew.
meet me.
Hopefully I passed. That's
Of course you pass. No, it's just great to share great information. And that's what this channel is about, right? Is being able to provide a way for people to earn extra income from home or through their business, with rental items. That's what this is all about. So I want to just say I'm very thankful that you're able to be here today.
Well, I'm super thankful for you, Susanna. Keep up the amazing work. You are the guru, and I just love, the fact that you've been placed in my life, and can help guide me as sort of, the newer, and that is another big thing, that I'm newer to this industry. Steve would call me sort of like green, I guess, in terms of like I wasn't renting things out before. I didn't have a party rental
Yeah,
facility, or he's been doing it for 30 years, but yet almost anybody can do it. Whether you have an MBA, whether you're young, old, doesn't really matter. If you have
makes no
something to
difference.
list, exactly. So
Makes no
get out there
difference.
and
You
list
don't
your
need a
items.
degree to use the Rent
No,
Anything Store platform. Honestly, you don't need any degree for that.
no,
No,
definitely
no.
not.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll connect again, I'm sure, in the future.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.